And we are live. Welcome back to another stream. Today, folks, we're going to be taking a look at one of the dream texture example files because a lot of the things I've presented as workflow options before have been incorporated into this last version of Dream Textures, the plugin on Blender to use Stable Diffusion within Blender. So, the interesting thing here is, let me just put up the chat. Hi there, EM. Thanks for dropping in once more. Always good to have you. And we'll check out over here. We've got the BMW example file. Now, I think I've set this up correctly. There's a bit of instructions here when you open up the example file, and I'll provide the link to this in the description below. But within the Dream Textures page, you have the different features that come with a new Dream Texture, and within the render engine section, which is what we're looking at here, is this example file. So it's actually a benchmark file that's used from the Blender website. However, here we get to benchmark it for this AI image generator. So within the instructions, it tells us that here we have to pick a model, and it recommends, or was set up with Stable Diffusion 1.5. I'm going to use Realistic Vision 2.0 and pick a scheduler. Now, control nets. This is interesting. Control nets are sort of ways to add other information from the image that influences the process of Stable Diffusion. So in this case, we have it connected to a depth map. And that means is we're basically going to first get an image that shows us the depth in the scene. In this case, I have it set to the tires, but we will set that to the whole scene. And so we get a pretty decent depth reading on the 3D geometry for this render. So that's plugged in over here to the control net node, and here we have to pick one of these control net models. So we have to get this one, and in order to get it, it's how we always go with getting the models for Dream Textures right within the plugin. Here in Preferences, we have our models, and if we just look up this creator, the one that's outlined here in the example file, we'll find many control nets that he's created, or he or she, whoever, has created, and it'll be under the section for control net, and we want to use depth. So with the depth model, we now hit render, and we should be good to go. There's quite a bit of other parameters here, such as the size of the image, how many steps we're taking it, so 18 isn't that far really, the CFG scale, your usual stuff. Random seed, so this is to get a random seed number, random starting point for the image, and the render should actually contain the metadata, so it should have within the description the seed number, so that we can use that to recreate similar results from that original number. So we see here we actually have Stable Diffusion running as a render, basically, using the whole 3D scene. So it's not like previous instances where I've shown this plugin, where we use cycles to render out the image, and then it doesn't AI pass over the top of it. This is already sort of embedded to just do it with the AI right off the bat. So it's doing the Stable Diffusion process still. We're at 60%. Now, this will be interesting to do an animation on, because however long each one of these frames take, basically I can not necessarily worry too much about, well, the more information you can put into the scene, the more detailed it'll be. But in this case, since we're really just using the depth map primarily to create this image, you don't have to do as much work, I would imagine, on the 3D scene, since we're working off of this plugin. Okay, there we go. I was trying to see if we were frozen, but we were not. So to contrast that, if I switch this render, this is basically where it's set as the render engine as Dream Textures plugin. If we switch that back to cycles, make sure that Dream Textures is not on. No. We could still do the old method where we do cycles and then we do the Dream Textures filter right here. But if I just did a plain render of what the 3D model is right now, this is what we're getting. So I wonder if it's actually taking the color. We can actually test that really quickly. So we can take the car, and if we change it to blue, what did I just change? Let's see. Shader editor. I don't see the car changing to blue. Okay, we're freezing. Switching to the shader editor. If you'd like to add in any questions at the chat at any point on what this plugin is, I've brought it up before on the channel. It's been around for quite a bit. This is the last version. Or any suggestions on what to try next. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just do a series of camera movements and generate a quick little animation for this using the AI to create all the frames. That's strange that we froze up. Oh, I got another file. It looks like I have two open. Okay, I'd hate to cancel out of this, but I might just need to. Yep, hopefully we can get an autosave. Gotta do a little desktop cleanup. Okay. BMW, we'll go to File, Recover, Autosave. And here we have at 808. Yep. Cool. Save that. So we had set this to depth. And we had set this one to realistic vision. Let's try comic diffusion. Why not? And let's see if that color actually affects. So if I let me save again. If I go into shader editor, where'd you go? It says text dream textures and node editor, but that's not what I want. Texture node editor. So the plugin seems to have replaced my shader editor. Textures node editor. Perhaps geometry node editor. Yeah, things are different now. I can't even wait, color, viewport display. That's just the viewport display, isn't it? If I hit render image, let's try that out. Something happened in the restart just now, and Blender is completely different now. In terms of like, I think this was in the documentation, the Dream Textures node editor, but I didn't realize it just replaced your shader editor. How do I access the shader editor now? So as that renders, we can take a look at the documentation. Okay. So they did a great job with this last version of adding in documentation. All this stuff directly describes what all these new nodes are that they put in. However, how do I bring my shader editor back? Setting up. Well, that'll be something to look into. Okay. What did I choose? The comic book one now? Yeah. So the prompt here is also default. Studio LED. So the actual color of the car is specified in the prompt. So it says red. If I keep this prompt, or maybe we just make a quick, prompt. We'll do ChatGPT. Oh, gotta log in again. We'll use ChatGPT to just come up with a little prompt that we can use here. Let's see. Okay. So I have a section here for generating mid-journey prompts. There we go. And, oh, dream texture prompts as well. We'll focus in on this one. So we'll ask it to actually just take the original prompt we have here. Control A, Control C, paste that into ChatGPT, and tell it to, we'll do that in the beginning, reformat the following prompt to yield a cinematic car look, optimized for consistency in stable diffusion. We'll keep it simple. There's so many factors that go into this, and a lot of testing to actually really start knowing where to have this pointed the right way. Then we can ask for a negative prompt. So we'll ask it, in order to optimize the images, let's create a negative prompt from this. So a negative prompt is things that we don't want there. So basically making sure that we get what we actually want. And it says create an illustration with blurry hazy effect, feature detailed background that adds depth and intricacy to overall composition. From the original we had illustration, blur, haze. Nope, we're just gonna copy the standard. I'm not gonna use ChatGPT for that. I'm actually gonna go to, there is a model, let's see, on Hugging Face called Realistic Vision. And that's the one I was using earlier. And we have a good template here for negative prompts. So I'm just gonna paste that right in there. Poorly drawn, CGI render sketch, all that. Cool. We'll make it look as real as possible. Okay. With that, we can add in more steps. Let's go to 50. That'll be a bit longer. And CFG scale we'll leave alone. Okay. Let's test that out. We'll render out an image just to see first. So we get our depth model. And then we should see the AI start to take over. Cool. I'm going to switch the model to whatever I put it as. Comic diffusion. Let's do realistic vision, especially since I even used their prompt template. Maybe there were words in there that I could have taken for the actual prompt as well. We can test that next. So we have here raw photo, 8K UHD DSLR, soft lighting, high quality. Yeah, we can add in all that. Let's see. Okay, realistic vision does a way better job. It's having trouble with the other car, so maybe I just get rid of it. Okay, we'll add that into the prompt. So another thing that can be done here is setting up a file that has many lines of prompts, so it'll actually continue to render out each line of prompt that's fed in. So you could test many in a, you know, very short amount of time. Okay, or just leave it working. That's not bad. It's reading the car shape fairly well. And the curious thing here, it's really generating all its own lighting. So we've come up to the point where we're gonna move this camera around. I'm gonna go onto the top view, and now I'm gonna make this thing another 3D view, just so I see what the camera sees. And okay. Nah, I'm not gonna lock or track onto the car. I am going to just straighten out the camera. So just going into object properties and turning off or setting to 90 the different rotations. Cool. Now, is my understanding that you can add multiple control nets? So, I'm not going to do it now, but I will search over here in the plugin for another control net. Because I'm thinking now, if I'm going to move the camera along, if I had a light, so like kind of a light bar or a series of lights illuminating the car in a really dark environment, can I have that show up through the AI? So, what we would search is a control net that had something with the light information, or even an actual image. Depth diffusers, canny, open pose, scribble. So off the bat, I don't see any names. There's one that does, I guess, an anime pass for you to feed over, but I don't see anything that. Oh, I guess here diffusers. I'd have to look into some of these models, but my thinking right now is if I put in the depth as well as a lighting pass, that it'll combine that information when generating an AI render. We'll just set this camera over here to pan into the car. We'll bring out a timeline. Where is our timeline? There it is. Set it to the beginning. We can keyframe out our position and move forward, say like 200 frames. There we go. And just move like halfway through the car, keyframe that, so that if we play through, that's the sort of movement that we get. I mean, really what I'd want to do with this, if I have the whole car as a, this car isn't, this car is rigged. I can just move this and it'll move the whole car. I'd love to have the car, like in this animation, crash into glass, break it, and then kind of just have the normal animation of the car moving, breaking the glass, and when it breaks through the other side, that's where the AI filter starts. So we could also do that pretty easily. If I had frame 200, we have the car start moving forward. So we move this along. And I'm gonna do this so, okay, so maybe in a few frames, actually moves really slowly. And then I'll just have it pick up speed, and that'll be two separate shots. I'll just have it move forward here. So that should move pretty slow as it kicks up. Yep. And some camera movement could intensify that. And then just shortly after, we ramp up the car speed and we just cut to a different shot. So it looks like it's kind of skipped in time a little bit. Whoops, didn't move it. Yeah, basically crashing through there. That's where we can put our wall. That's fine. That much faster. Nope, we can move these closer. Looks kind of awkward. Let's see. Moves, ramps up forward, and then speeds up. Yep. going to speed it up even more. Bring it closer. Cool. Now we want to put in a surface right there for it to break through. So we'll do a new plane. Bring that up. Rotate that to 90. Just move it in place where that other wall is at. Right there. And there's a modifier here that we can add that actually makes it break up. Let's see. Build, decimate. I do know we want. Not build. Physics. Explode. That sounds right. Okay, so explosion, particle, UV, cut edges. This is going to take a tutorial, so I'm going to leave that for later. That glass actually breaking. And that could be where I pick up another time. But I do want to have this animation start working, so I can just kind of work the initial frames that happen with the normal car. And then the frames that happen afterward, it breaks through. So I'm going to just set up the one where it sort of breaks through. So with the camera, we look through the camera view here, and we see that the camera just stopped right there. We can have one of the different cameras. So we'll look for a different one here in the scene, and we'll duplicate it. We'll find it over here, camera 6, and we will move it to the other side, where it'll be looking into the room. And the car's broken through. Yeah, we can keep it. Ooh, we gotta click over here to activate that other camera. We can rotate it, so we can just kind of get a bit of a awkward action angle. Let's move forward. The car broke through. And that's the shot we're looking at. We'll move the camera back some more. Okay, not bad. So what I'm envisioning here is with this gone, this is basically what we'll see is like all that glass breaking through right there, and the camera following up with the car after that breaks. So we can set this over to animate now. Let's set the start frame here to when the car starts to break through. So that would be just about 400. Although let's do a test at frame 430. That's too much. 420. 400. Okay. Car comes in fast. Okay, right there. Let's do a test right there. I think I should specify that it's breaking through glass. Maybe I don't even need to actually simulate the glass, and I can just have the AI take care of that. Let's see what it does here. Okay. So even though there's nothing below it, and in the depth map, no, it actually did. Yeah, it showed that as void. It showed that as complete nothing there. If we switch over to depth right here. So there's nothing there, but it still made a floor, right? It still just recognized this shape and that should be a floor. So I'm going to specify into the prompt that this car is breaking through a window out of a building. So let's see. Raw photo. We can take out the word anything subjective. We'll just put cinematic car sleek red BMW 1M crashing out of building window. Okay, let's render that out. So if it doesn't quite get it, I'll have to do a bit more modeling. So I'll actually have to take that plane and have it explode and break into pieces through. And I don't know what other details, maybe like have the other side of it like actually look like the side of a building. Yeah. See, it's just building off of, maybe I have to take away from the prompt. Product, well, backdrop photography? Yeah, we don't want it as backdrop photography. White studio, no. We want to switch a lot of that. So I guess that would be something. How can I see? If I could get a few lines to see the prompt, because otherwise I'm doing this weird thing. Okay, so there's a maximum. Perfectly lit in a studio environment? No. Sunset lighting exterior. Coming crashing out of a building window. Sunset lighting exterior. Let's put a comma right here. And then in the negative prompt, we'll also put static. We'll put floor. We don't want a floor. Maybe that solves that. Yeah. Oh, let's specify also crashing out of building window. Glass shards everywhere. Flying everywhere. Or just glass shards flying. Let's keep it simple at this point. I think after this one, I might as well just go for the animation, have that run. Still put floors. It's still just doing the same type of thing it wants to do. Let's, what if I bring the CFG scale down? And there is an object here that we're not seeing. This one. I'm just gonna take away that out of the render. Let's try that. Tweak. Oh! DPM solver. I don't like this one. Let's do KDPM discrete. I think that's going to make a big difference. The scheduler that you use, especially in relation to the model, makes a huge difference. Getting close. That actually, I mean, that car looks really, really good. Maybe let's just get rid of this as well for this animation, and that'll be the output that I test out. Let's just hit this camera angle from frame. Let's see, what, 410 to, let's bring this camera angle from frame 390. I want a lot more frames over here. That's fine. We'll just try that out and morph it. Okay. 400 to 440. This piece right here. We can do render animation. And I wonder, I didn't check in the example file where these would be, what format or what. Okay, so we're putting out PNGs into the temp file. That's fine. Okay, that's kind of interesting. It's going to be pretty abstract. So it has no surface, it's just a car in the void. So it just fills in whatever it wants into the void, or it's having to rework the prompt into the void. So I'm gonna do a few variations here and then post the results, the resulting animations, and see what processes here. I mean, this is a bit different in the way that we can actually use Stable Diffusion within the 3D model within Blender. So yeah, I'm thinking of all these different animations that I've done, attaching a bit of the data behind what led to those generations and having all this together as sort of a guide. So look out for that. I've got quite a bit on there to put together, but it shouldn't take me long. And yeah, if you found this video useful and explaining Stable Diffusion within Blender, or how this works as a rendering engine and what the factors are, if you just generally found this video helpful in terms of using AI tools with 3D art, consider subscribing. Always appreciate a like or share. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Have a great night, everyone.